The wind had been tearing across the flats since dawn, flinging dust into the boards of the lane place. The gate hung crooked, creaking like a throat trying to speak. A horse stood tethered to the post, ribs showing, tail twitching against the flies. From the porch, Martha Lane watched the rider dismount. Slow, deliberate, like a man who'd been riding too long and carrying more than dust. He lifted his hat, eyes squinting at her through the haze. "Name's Cole Mercer," he said, voice cracked from the trail. "Looking for work, ma'am." The woman didn't answer right away. Her hands were still from years of habit, her eyes gray as weathered tin. The shotgun resting against the door frame gleamed dull in the light. She looked him over, the torn shirt, the cracked boots, the faint tremor in his hand. "You can sleep in the barn," she said finally. "Feed's in the bin. Water the mare if you've got strength left." He nodded, half grateful, half wary of her calm. As he led the horse away, the air felt heavy, as if even the land itself didn't trust him yet. Inside the barn, he found order among ruin, neat stacks of tools, a rusted saddle hung with care, a single lantern burning though the day wasn't yet gone. Against the far wall sat a burlap sack, tied with leather cord, too carefully to be ordinary. When he reached to set his bedroll, the floor creaked. Above the sound came a whisper, so faint he thought it was the wind at first. "Please take them off." He froze. The voice came from the house, from somewhere beyond the warped boards and the setting sun. He stepped outside. Martha was standing by the porch rail, staring west, lips moving though no sound reached him. The sky was burning orange, the last light falling across her face. For a moment, he thought she was talking to someone beside her, but no one was there. Later, when the night dropped cold and the lantern's light flickered thin, Cole lay awake listening. The ranch was dead quiet, save for the slow turn of the windmill and the far cry of a coyote. Then he heard again, clearer this time, close enough to raise the hair on his neck. "Please take them off." He sat up, heart pounding. The sound came from the barn wall, not outside it, but within. He stared at the burlap sack in the corner, its shadow long and still. For a long minute, he didn't move. The lantern hissed, then went out, swallowed by the dark. Outside, the wind died completely, and in that silence, the ranch seemed to breathe. The sound of hooves carried before the dust did. 3 riders, hard and mean, cutting through the pale morning light. Cole was mending a fence line when he saw them crest the ridge, the sun flashing off their rifle barrels. Martha was already on the porch, the same old shotgun leaning against the post, her eyes fixed steady as stone. The lead rider spat a wad of tobacco, let it fall near her boots. "Mrs. Lane," he said, drawing out her name like a curse. "Time's up. Dalton's making his rounds, and your patch of dirt's still sitting where it shouldn't." Martha didn't blink. "Land's paid for," she said quietly. "Paid for by a corpse," the second man laughed, adjusting the brim of his hat. "World's moved on since your husband planted himself. Now it's Dalton's ridge, not the Lane place." Cole felt the air grow tight. His grip tightened around the post hammer, sweat running cold down his back. The third man leaned in his saddle, eyes narrowing at the burlap sack that rested near Martha's feet on the porch boards. "Heard tell you got something in there, ma'am. Something worth protecting. Maybe we'll see what it is before we go." Her voice cut through the air like the crack of a dry branch. "You'll see it," she said, "at sundown tomorrow." The men stared, uncertain if they'd heard right. "Tomorrow," the leader repeated. "You want the land?" she said. "Come for it then. But don't come early." Something in her tone, quiet but heavy as thunder, made them shift in their saddles. The leader sneered to save face, turned his horse with a jerk. "You've got sand, lady," he said, "but it'll be your grave." They rode off slow, dust curling behind them like smoke from a dying fire. Cole waited until they were gone before stepping closer. "You shouldn't have baited him," he said. Her eyes stayed on the horizon. They needed a reason to finish what they started. He looked down at the sack, the same one that whispered to him in the dark. The knots were tight, the fabric worn smooth at the edges from years of handling. "What's in it?" he asked. She looked at him then, a long, searching look, like she was measuring how much truth he could carry. Finally, she said, "You'll know it's sundown." Before he could speak again, She reached in her coat pocket and pulled out something dull and silver, a sheriff's badge, bent and scarred, the star barely visible beneath rust. "Clay's," she said, pressing it into his palm. "If they kill me, bury this with me. If they don't, keep it. It'll know where to go." The badge was cold, heavier than it should have been. Out past the yard, the rider's dust still hung in the air like smoke that wouldn't settle. The sun was sinking when they came. 3 dark shapes cutting through the red horizon, rifles slung, dust rising in their wake. The wind had died. Even the cicadas were silent. Cole stood by the corral, hand near the revolver he cleaned twice but never fired in anger. Martha was already waiting. On the porch, the burlap sack at her feet, her husband's duster drawn close against the wind that wasn't there. No words were traded. The leader swung down first, boots thudding heavy against the ground. "We come for what's ours," he said. Martha's voice was soft but carried clear. "You sure you want it?" He grinned. "Lady, I've been sure since the day your man took 2 of ours to the dirt." A pause, a shift in the air. Then the first rifle cracked. The shot tore a plank from the porch rail. She didn't move. Cole ducked behind the trough, returned fire, missing wide. Dust leapt from a yard, horses screamed, and the world filled with gunfire and heat. Martha didn't draw, didn't flinch. She only bent slowly, hand steady, and untied the leather cord of the sack's mouth. Cole saw her lips move. "Please take them off." The wind hit thin, sudden, hard, swirling up from nowhere. The sack spilled open, and 2 blackened hands, bound at the wrist, dropped to the boards. The gloves still clung to them, stiff with age. The leader stared, his sneer faltering. "What in God's name?" The words died in his throat as the gloves twitched. A tremor ran through the air, faint at first, like the hum before a storm. Then the smell of smoke and iron filled the yard. Shadows stretched unnaturally long across the dirt. Cole backed away, his eyes locked on the porch. The hands lifted, slow and deliberate, as if remembering their purpose. The faint shimmer of a man, tall, broad, hat low, took shape above them. Twin pistols gleamed in the dying light. The leader screamed. Gunfire erupted again, but the bullets went nowhere, swallowed by the air. When the smoke cleared, 2 of the riders were down, faces locked in silent terror. The last man stumbled backward, tripping over his own horse. His voice broke. "Clay Lane's dead. You can't." The ghost fired once. The man didn't finish his sentence. Silence followed, heavy, unbroken, eternal. The air shimmered once more, then stilled. The faint outline of the gunslinger looked toward Martha, and for a moment, Cole thought he saw sorrow in that hollow light. Then the shape faded, leaving only the sack, the gloves resting still. Martha knelt, whispering the words again, her hands trembling now. "Please take them off." She placed the gloves back inside, tied the cord tight, and set the sack beside her like a sleeping child. Cole couldn't speak. The windmill began to turn again, slow and steady, as if nothing had happened. The sun sank behind the ridge, and the world turned quiet as dust. The wind came first, hard, sudden, pulling at the shutters until they rattled like bones. The Lane ranch stood empty beneath a bruised dawn, every door unlatched, every hinge whispering. Cole's horse was gone from the corral. The barn stood open. On the porch rail, a single sheriff's badge hung by a nail, spinning slow in the wind. Out on the ridge, the sky burned pale gold over the dust. Tracks cut deep into the earth. One set of boots, one of hooves, both heading south toward the canyon road. Nobody saw them go. Nobody saw her again. Days later, a pair of travelers came through, chasing daylight. They found the porch as it was left. Coffee still black in the pot. 2 chairs facing the dying fire. One man reached for the badge, ran his thumb over the worn metal. "Sheriff Clay Lane," he read aloud. "Ain't that the one who went down in the Dalton feud?" His partner shrugged. If he did, he didn't stay down. They searched the place. No food, no horses, no sign of Martha Lane, just that burlap sack tucked neat beneath the table. The older traveler bent close, hand hovering over the cord. Something about it made him hesitate. The air felt wrong, still and tight like before a storm. "Don't," his partner muttered. But the old man's curiosity got the better of him. He tugged at the knot. The whisper came before the air moved. Faint, fragile. A woman's voice, close enough to touch. "Please take them off." The old man froze. The cords slipped from his fingers. The lantern light flickered out, though no wind had touched it. Both men stumbled back, breath clouding in the sudden chill. They left the sack where it lay, left the house as it was, door open, coffee cold, badge turning in the wind. By the time they reached Dalton's Ridge, folks were talking about the 3 enforcers found dead out by the old Lane property, their guns still drawn, faces white as ash. Some said they'd seen a man in a duster riding through the dusk that same evening. Another swore it was a woman, hat low, sack tied to her saddle. No one could say for sure, but the storyteller always ends it the same way. Every man who ever wore Dalton's mark met the same fate, one by one. Some say it was justice. Others say it was love that wouldn't die proper. Then the voice softens, almost lost to the crackle of the fire. And on nights when the wind crawls down from the hills, if you listen close, you'll hear her still. "Please take them off." The flames hiss. The desert swallows the sound. And the story, like the dust, keeps moving on,